going on, guys? Dan here, DD Speed Shop. If you're new here, I have two garages. One's lame, one's good. We're in a lame garage, but we're doing fun hot rod stuff. So we're gonna work on my 56 Chevy wagon. Now we just pulled out a giant big block and put in this, it's basically a reman small block Chevy there. I got it out of the wrecker and painted orange. So it's pretty much warranty ready to go. Now, we have a bunch of parts on here which probably won't stay. A lot of this aluminum stuff is just kind of for show right now. I gotta find intake manifolds, some stamped steel valve covers. Probably run a truck style water pump just because the bracketry is quite a bit easier than trying to use one of these aluminum car ones. And then pulleys and all that are just easier on the later model stuff. Now the problem we do have, I have these headers. Now I've had these headers for quite a while, and we're gonna make them fit on this drive-5. So the passenger side fits, clears all the steering, we have no issues there. The driver's side, the one pipe smashes directly into the steering box. Everything else I think will be okay. So my plan is cut it here and here, so we'll keep the elbow as much as possible. I'll then put a pie cut a little further down. We'll be able to bend the pipe over, get it in and fitting, and then once it's fit in there, then we can play bridge the gap, hopefully with enough material we cut out. Otherwise I'll have to make something or screw around or I don't know what yet. But that's the plan for right now. Once we get that in, then course board in, maybe a radiator, measure for drive shaft, kind of slowly but surely you got to find a starter, all that sort of junk to get this thing rolling, and then hopefully running and driving before you know it. But that's what we're going to focus on today. Luckily, my welder is next door and the grinder's over here. So I'm going to do some cutting and fitting here and some welding in the other shop. So I went back and forth a little bit. We managed to get the header kind of fit. I ended up just cutting this piece off and re-welding it. And there were the two joint. I actually took a piece of sheet metal and I actually used this pipe. I made the shape I wanted, welded it on, that was it. So fits like a glove, lots of room around there. Everything works out fine. Honestly, Tri-5 Chevys with a small block in them isn't the end of the world. And they had small blocks in them way back when. So all we have done is added the side mount, side saddle mounts, and moved it ahead 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. I did go ahead and I started getting the exhaust fixed. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I wanted to just kind of monkey around on my own. I can show you on the other side once I do it, which will be later tonight or tomorrow, but I'll just show you the driver's side. It was actually a fairly simple piece, so I ended up cutting that much material out. At the top, I cut around here, like a V cut, and I bent it down, because you have to remember these were more straight up and down on the big blocks. They had block hugger headers. So now with these mid-length, they kind of have more of an angle back. So that goes to there. This is a little union piece. So this is not welded or clamped on either side. So what I'll probably do is weld this piece to this one, which is a little kind of funny, a little two sections side by side, but it's what we're working with. And then here, I'll be able to clamp it. And this has lots of space between the transmission crossmember, and I mean it's a little low, but that's kind of how it was with the exhaust the way I have it. If you go back here, there's not a whole lot of space between my finger and the floor, so it's as tucked up as it can be other than this section right here. Down the road, if anybody ever wanted to, I mean realistically you'd have it go up and over the crossmember. This was a cheap crossmember I regret buying. It's, I mean, all it is a piece of 2x2 that goes straight across. There's no kind of loops, like in a typical dual exhaust crossmember. This will actually go up and over. So you could, or cut this out and plate it and all sorts of things. But this is what we're dealing with, and it's fine. The reason I want to have this clamped is because all the way back there, it's all one piece now. It has a tailpipe. So you want to just make sure the tailpipe's where you want it, and then we can bolt her all up. So that's the case. And you can just kind of, well, you gotta just, oh, that's a good magnet. You can see right here how far up the exhaust goes versus, where is it? Up in there is where it's going to start. So cut it out, make it work. Pretty simple. This was a bit of a janky exhaust anyways, with that big block and that 700R and all sorts of stuff in there. But this will work out just fine. So I think this piece here I kind of cut out. I might be able to cut another one out. I was about to go buy one tomorrow. I need some clamps. But really, that was the big ticket. I was worried about the exhaust being a pain, but it really wasn't that bad. I'll get the other side cut out maybe, or I might start putting the core support and stuff in, to be honest with you. I'm tired of, I don't know if you can see my breath here. It's cold on the garage floor. So I'm time to maybe be up top a little bit and do something a little warmer. Okay, so I decided to take a, well, I guess I kind of said in the last clip, but I want to put the core support and everything in now. This core support, by the looks of it, I cut it up for some reason. This section here is cut out. Oh, it must have been for the radiator hose. And then I know I cut out this little piece here because that's where the drain was on the that big radiator. But I don't want to put that radiator back in. I want to put a stock Tri-5 because I think I have one. So I will have to put this in. And then we got to decide what we got for clearance, because this one has the radiator on the back side, which isn't the end of the world. So I'll either have to cut these mounts off while it's the front side, put the radiator in the front, or if it'll fit in the back with the belt drive system, and I can put an electric fan acting as a pusher. I do have the electric fan wiring right here. It's ready to go. There must have been a fan on that car. I guess so. Must have been a puller. So, I mean, not perfect. We have a pusher fan. It'll be no big deal. So, let's get going on this. It just has 2 bolts there, and then the top bar that goes across, which is supposed to be bolted in. I'll just give it a quick tack weld or something like that in a little bit. Yeah, let's get this all together. Okay, so I brought in a couple of radiators. Small snafu, they're both 6-cylinder radiators. So I've said it before, but if you happen to be new here, Tri-5 Chevys, if it was a 6-cylinder, the radiator was mounted in front of the core support. If it was a V8, it was mounted behind. This car, this wagon, this is the factory core support, was a factory V8 car, which means the attachment goes that way. And on the radiator, the attachment goes forward. So it will not fit to the back like this. This is a 6-cylinder radiator. So this is meant to be in front. So we're going to have to cut these off and weld them on the front side. Not the end of the world, but it's not happening tonight. I don't know. I have 3 radiators. The one that is a V8 radiator 'It has a hole in it. And I know it has a hole in it, so it stayed in there. These are the other 2. One of them came with the 57 Chevy, or a 57 Chevy. I don't know what this one is. This one might not even be a Tri-5 one. It kind of has the shape, but I mean, this is obviously different. I don't know what this is, but I don't know. Doesn't look the greatest. I think this is probably our winner. We'll let it thaw out a little bit, and I might take it to work, jam it full of water and cap it and put a little pressure in it or something like that and just see if we have some leaks. I don't think this will be go sit in 80-degree weather trying to get ice cream and all that sort of stuff downtown, but it'll hold hopefully water, that at least there's water in this thing so we can putt ski it around a little bit and go from there. I mean, a new rad's not the end of the world. It's $300 or $350 or something like that for an aluminum one, but if I'm not keeping this thing, it's just not worth spending the money on it. And, I mean, let's be honest, if this thing goes, is the guy going to keep a small block in it or an automatic or whatever the heck it may be? Kind of building it as if I kept it, I just want a small block automatic and just cruise in it, and that's about it. So if we decide to keep it, it's one radiator away from being a little bit more reliable. But I guess we're going to leave it for right now. We'll see if I come back out later or not to do that other exhaust side, but I do have a list of parts I need. But yeah, it's quite a bit smaller in there with this little motor. Lots of room. Got to figure out a belt drive and stuff. I've had the thoughts of stealing everything off the Nova, which I may do, and put on this for the time being. Just like the belt drive and an alternator and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. I'm still thinking it out. I don't have enough parts to make 3 cars run. I have enough to make 2, and I got to pick which one is going to be sitting there without being able to idle for the time being. Next day, I went and got a couple of these little adapters. I love these things. They just make life so much easier. Unfortunately, they didn't have any 2.5-inch muffler clamps. I went to one store. I got lazy. I jumped ahead and I chopped the downpipe off, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to fit this all together in my brain. So a little bit of back and forth to the other garage with the welder. I got to get another welder. But, so let's get under this thing. So I cut the downpipe. Man, the light's just so terrible under here, eh? Look at this little movie magic. There we go. So I've cut this downpipe off, and I put one tack weld in it, so this actually does have a little bit of up and down wiggle to it. I don't want to go too much because I don't want to break the tack. So we're going to eyeball about where we want it, which is probably about there. This here, we're probably going to cut it around there, because if I put this up, kind of go beside it, we'll get pretty close to line up. We're actually running into the transmission there. So I think I'll do is I'll slice this with the sawzall, and then I'm happy with this angle, so I'm going to unbolt it gingerly, and I'll just put another kind of tack on each corner, or, you know, on 4 ways, like a cross. I'll come back, I'll test fit it all together with the sleeve, and if it'll fit, then we'll burn that all together. It'll be good. We can slip the sleeve over. Well, actually, I'll weld the sleeve on the one side, and we'll just have one piece to kind of slip on, piece will go up, bolt in. Then we just got to adjust, like again, with the how we want the angle of the dangle for the tailpipe, and we'll just put one muffler clamp on each side tomorrow. Actually, that side has to come off and be welded as well, now that I think about it. So we got just a little bit of welding to do, but honestly, it went pretty well. I can't complain, and there's a pile of room up front. The transmission lines are actually easy to get to. I did butcher them putting it in, but we'll just run a new one. Probably go down around, and these are the other ones I had. So we'll tie into that. Should be good. And then I just got to track down a starter. Get some torque converter bolts. I think this thing's old, so it'll probably be like 3/8 stuff, I'm hoping. Some washers, and then, I mean, realistically, we're good. I got the drive shaft ordered today, so it'll be done in a couple of days. We'll slide that in there. Transmission's mounted. I mean, really, it's going pretty quick. The only thing I don't have is a carburetor. I can always steal one off a tunnel ram, but I'm looking for one right now, a used one. So if I can find one, bonus. So we'll get back and I'll kind of get this fit up. We'll show you how it's going to be. All right, last time under here, I promise. I got bad lighting, but I want to go over there after. So it's on, it's all together. I'll have to finish welding right here and then clamp there. No big deal. Now on this side, I have to mark this. Move that over just a little bit. Okay, so this right here is a join. So we're just going to go ahead and kind of go across there, across there, and do a bunch of these. So when I take it all apart, I can put it back together next door on the bench, and we'll weld it all together. So same thing, I think this one just needs a weld there, and then this can be clamped on that side. So we're in the warmer, better lighting, all around everything is awesome garage now to do some welding. I said it'd be easier to go back and forth 1,000 times than try and lug the welder to the other garage. But let me just show you this. So this is the driver's side piece that I had marked a bazillion times, so all the marks match up. I wrote bottom on it. Now, what you want to do is you can kind of wiggle it out. So even though they kind of line up, you want to make sure, I made sure the Sharpie went right into it, just so the angle will be the whole way good. So a little bit of screwing around, but I think that ought to do it. So there you go. Just a little bit more. I'll probably put like 4 tacks the whole way around it, go opposite, opposite, opposite. It will wag just a little bit, nothing too serious. Then we'll buzz it all together. And the other one, we had it tacked, so it's not going anywhere and it fit just great. So we'll just finish welding it. And then go back next door into the dungeon and finish assembling it. All right, we're back in the other garage. When I was over there welding, Danny came by and said supper's ready, so we had to jam through that. And I got this together real quick, but well, there it is. Both pipes on. Looks okay. It definitely hangs down a little bit, but I mean, if you're looking from the side, yeah, it's not too bad. It's exactly 2.5 inches below the frame, which is a little lame, but we'll see if it drags on speed bumps. That. I was under there looking, there's not enough room actually to run the pipes between the floor and the top of the transmission crossmember, so it will have to be hogged out, replaced, or something like that. But for now, it works. I think the next thing I'm going to do is go through my pile of parts, see if I have a distributor, a proper water pump, and a few things like that. I got to get a gasket kit, so we'll see where we're going to go. This video might be ending right away here because I'm going to run out of parts. There's no bones about it. And then, yeah, I mean, really, we're waiting on a drive shaft, carburetor. I should be able to wire it pretty quick. The only thing I guess I can do yet is mount this radiator properly, try and find some hoses, a few little odds and ends. And unfortunately, the next video is going to be stripping some of these parts out of this thing, which, by the way, everyone's blowing me up in the comments about stripping this car. Don't strip it, this and that. I'm not stripping it. I'm taking the back seat, which unbolts, and I'm taking the rear, what do you want to call them? Cables, pull cables and stuff like that for the tailgate itself. I know a lot of people said, just buy new ones. Yeah, but I could take these ones, and the next guy could buy new ones. It's all the same. It's $500 for the stuff, so I sell the car for $500 less, or I sell the car for $500 more and try and find them in stock right now with stuff's a pain. I have them, I'm going to use them, and if I keep the car and want to do it later, I'll replace them in this car, not in the other car. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I did a little bit of rummaging around, and I actually went out and bought a few things, but we're going to jam a bunch of stuff together. Now, I found a gasket kit, because I bought one of these for the Nomad and only used a few things. So that worked out pretty sweet. So I got valve cover gaskets, an intake set should be in there, because I didn't take the intake manifold off that thing. You guys all recommended just using these stock style exhaust gaskets on a set of headers. I've never done that, but I figured I'm cheap and I'll try that versus I always buy the extra thick ones. But these flanges are pretty good. I mean, we'll try it out. So we got all that. I just used a few gaskets up, so I might use a little bit of silicone. I think water neck and distributor, a few things like that. Anyways, we'll figure that all out. So I think I'm going to use this intake manifold. I have a couple other ones, but this is probably what we'll use for now. I found this radiator too. This was given to me, I think it's an old, like a stock car style radiator. So it actually suits the car not bad. It sits at the right height. It actually sits on a little pedestal I had built for that big rad. So I think I'll just hang it and paint it black. I found a water pump, so I gave it a coat of black paint. I don't have any Chevy orange, and I'm not going out to buy one can. Unfortunately, I think I have just shiny black, so whatever. That's why I painted it. And so I want to paint it silver at some point, so I got to put a couple of coats on it. Rad water pump gaskets. Oh, I ran out to buy this. So this was on Marketplace. It's a Summit brand carburetor, 600 vacuum secondary electric choke, 125 bucks. So I gambled. And wouldn't you know, I got home from that and I was looking in the shed. I was finding stuff. I found a carburetor which I could use. I actually believe this carburetor came on this motor, so it's some sort of Holley, same deal, mechanical choke, whatever. But that's easy. They're both square bore, easy to get. Just switch them around. I think I'll start with that one for the time being, because it's gonna be mine, and then we'll sell it with that if that works. I found a distributor, a cap. I don't have any wires. I found a bunch of fuel pumps. This is for sure a small block Chevy fuel pump, a little grody. This one here, it's all about the kick out. I think this is probably this might be a big block one actually. It has a bit of a different rod. This is also a return style one and it's giant, so it probably won't fit. Then I found this in some miscellaneous box. It's a Carter one. I don't know where I got this, but it's actually a marine style pump, but it's for a 5 liter or a 350. So if this works, I might as well get rid of it. I don't know. I guess we'll see. The rod looks a little goofy. If it fits, it fits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I press it on the ground. It makes a suction-y noise. So we'll see. And, of course, in stock, I always have gentle carb studs and header bolts because I go through them like water. So that's the plan. I don't have pulleys. Don't have a water neck. But I think everything else we should have. We should get kind of most of the way. Oh, starter. I didn't have a starter. Well, I know I have a starter, but it might be frozen in the ground, so we're not going to use it. I want to get that thing running and see what the deal is with it leak-wise. So I think that'll be the next video. Then once that thing's running, we can pillage some parts off that, put it on here for time start, starter and all that, get it running and driving while I search for a used one or whatever it may be. But that's the plan. I don't want to steal from Peter to pay Paul and then have nothing what I want. That big block is priority, but this is what we're going to do. So we'll finish off the video. We're going to paint this, put the intake on, do the exhaust, put a water pump on, and maybe a fuel pump and a few little odds and ends. Set the carburetor on it, make it look like a motor, and then we're going to finish it up. Go with the other one. Once we get that taken care of, we'll be right back, and we'll get this thing running in the next video or two. Enough babbling? Let's do it. Okay, so the plan is we do have the right there the radiator hanging on the fender stand, just kind of drying for some paint. I had heater on it. I guess at some point when I had this thing apart, I cleaned the mating surfaces, so I just kind of gave them a quick scuff up for the intake manifold on the top of the cylinder head. That was good. Valve covers are off. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I don't want to use these valve covers on this motor because they're nice and I want to keep them for myself. I'll have to get some bolts or something out for the time being, or pay up and get some stamped steel jobs. Anyways, everything's clean there and on the intake. Now what I like to use is a little bit of just, I don't know, Permatex gasket maker. So the kit comes with obviously 2 intake gaskets, and then it has these kind of rubber gaskets which sit on this China wall, which are just terrible all the time, no matter what. It never works. It does have this side up. I know you're not really supposed to use silicone on this, but I like to just put a little dab just to kind of hold it in place while it's on there. That just makes life easier. So you kind of scoosh it on, line up your bowl holes, do both sides. Pretty simple. This stuff I think sets up in a couple hours. So again, when I like to put an intake manifold on, I like to do this. We'll plop on the intake and just kind of gently torque it down. Let it sit till the silicone all sets up, and then you can kind of crank her on. Now when I say silicone, it's because I don't use the front and back gaskets. I like to just load them up. Oh, this is terrible silicone here. Oh, it's not bad. Sitting around forever, but right here, instead of those rubber units, the silicone I find seals better, especially on the back. If you have a rear of the intake leak. It dumps oil. It's a pain. It's a nightmare to do. Right now is the time to do it with all apart, so really load her up with some silicone. So we'll get this all kind of set up. And once she's plunked on there, we'll bring it back. Okay, so the intake gaskets are on. We got silicone front back. Went a little ugly, but whatever. You want to make sure you have a bead so when you put the intake on, it gooshes down. Goosh being the technical term if you look up the Chevy install manual. Now you want the intake manifold to kind of go on and down once. If you start moving around, the intake gasket gets all discombobulated, and then the bolt holes don't line up, and it's a real pain. You got a bunch of silicone everywhere. Luckily, aluminum intake manifolds are much lighter than factory steel jobs, but you still kind of got to get her done. Okay, everything seems to be lined up. If you get a few bolts in there, obviously don't just send them home right off the bat. Oh, should move just a little bit. Get them started, and then classic work your way from the inside out when you're torquing them. This one may be an issue because it's got a bit of a raised plenum. I doubt a standard 3/8 bolt will fit in there. Probably have to use like a header style bolt, which is a bit of a pain. I don't know if I have any spares, so we might just kind of have the 4 on the corners to hold it until tomorrow when I can get some more hardware. So we got the 4 corners in. Unfortunately, the little ones, like I said, it's going to need a header style bolt or an Allen head or something kind of different with a washer on it. This will be fine for now. It's centered, all the bolts are lined up, and honestly, it's this little goosh in there we have, which did pretty good. Kind of spilled out a little, but nothing too crazy. So I'm happy. Up next, I think we'll see the water pump is dry-ish anyways, so it's pretty good. Let's take this off. So water pump, same thing. I cleaned the surfaces on the engine block as well as on the water pump. Now, I've done this many times where you literally just shmoo on silicone and call her a day. Where did I put the silicone? Oh, here we go. But since we have the gaskets, we might as well use them. Right? I find it's easier to gasket it up a little bit, or a little sealer. Put it on the back of the water pump. Hands are all silicone-y. Like that. Is that what I want to do? Struggling here. So it turns out the water pump I have, I'm bonehead, and it's a big block Chevy one. Don't fit a small block Chevy one, or something like that. So we're gonna move on to the exhaust. Tri-5 Chevy, or small block Chevy, I should say. Pretty simple setup. You have 2 pipes that are kind of Siamese in the center, and then they're spread out. So obviously that'll be for a center one. It has these little hooks on it. So what I've done, I put every bolt in the header to the cylinder head, and these are literally just gonna kind of slide in like that. But I am gonna give them a liberal dose of this high temperature silicone, so hopefully seals. I said, you guys all said this is the absolute way to do it. Headers are just, they're always a pain no matter what. So any little bit of help we can put on there, we're putting on. So we'll get this side done. I'll do the other side real quick. We might try the fuel pump. Dump the radiator in there, a couple of carb studs, place a nice carburetor on there, and this thing will be like same amount of distance from being done. You know what? I probably should have got some paper towel. Okay, so I jumped ahead just a little bit. That's where we're gonna finish this off. So we got the other header on. Now what I did, I put regular 3/8 bolts and 2 easy bolts to get to. A little janky, but I stole those bolts and put them on the intake. So the intake's bolted down properly now. The headers are on properly. Put some studs in the intake manifold. I didn't film that, and I put the carburetor on. So there we go. We got the radiator just kind of sitting there. We're not going to bolt it down just yet. I do have just a couple of clamps I made for the other radiator. They'll just kind of hold it down with some rubber isolators. That'll be fine. We'll have to get some sort of radiator hoses. At this point, it might be a little bit miscellaneous kind of junk. So what I'm going to do now, I don't know how much screwing around I want to do for finding used parts versus just getting it, making it happen. So, price of a water pump on Rock Auto. Yeah, I got a little list of things I need. Distributor I have. I mean, again, I saw that Amazon had one for like 65 bucks. I kind of want to try out those cheapies and see if they're good. Because if they're good, I'll just have one in stock because I use that stuff all the time. Set of plug wires, set of plugs. I got to run the valves yet because I haven't done that. Set the lash. And then it's some sort of belt and kind of system there for an alternator, all that sort of stuff. So that may kind of come down the road as long as it runs and drives, even if it doesn't charge and maybe it's not turning the water pump. It can move in and out of the garage and around back and wherever I have to do. You just can't take it for long trips. You can run it for a few minutes, especially if there's coolant sitting in it. Collector gaskets I got to get. But so I got my list. I think we're gonna take a break from this now. This thing cracks me up. This is a bone stock 350. From the 80s, sucked out, low compression junk that had a burnt valve in it that I put one valve in a cylinder head. Haven't even started it, so hopefully it's fixed. And then now I've done all this screwing around to it and I dressed it up with this whole top end kit, carburetor, the whole deal. Like someone's gonna pop the hood and go, oh yeah, it looks all right. Then you'll fire it up and it'll probably go thuff, 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 because it's running on 7, but that's a problem down the road. So we're leaving it there. I am excited to work on this thing. Well, by working on it, we're going to get fired up on the run stand, put a set of headers on it, and see if we can track down the oil leak. Hopefully it's something that I've done. I was really hoping to do something at the back here. Honestly, a little bit of oil. I guess we'll see. Anyways, that's where we're leaving it now. For now, I should say. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, all those things, and I will see you in a couple of days while I'm wrenching on a big block Chevy, which is way better than a small block Chevy.